Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Radhe Golokananda Bhagwan ki.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we're in text 35 today, and it has a really exciting purport. The first, I think we'll do it in 2 weeks. The first week we do the first 2 paragraphs, but it has a lot of Brahma Samhita references. So Gajendra, it's a really a great purport.
Nice, yeah.
Your favorite. And mine too.
Yes. Right. Will we start?
Yeah.
Yatha mahanti bhutani bhuteshu chavacheshvanu pravistanya pravistani tatha teshu nateshvaham. O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time I am outside of everything.
Okay. Okay. The great elements of material creation, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether, all enter into the body of all manifested entities, the seas, mountains, aquatics, plants, reptiles, birds, beasts, human beings, and everyone, demigods, and everyone materially manifested, working our way up from inanimate objects to the gods. And at the same time, such elements are differently situated. In the developed stage of consciousness, the human being can study both physiological and physical sciences, but the basic principles of such sciences are nothing but the material elements and nothing more.
The body of the human being and the body of the mountain, as also the bodies of the demigods, including Brahma, are all of the same ingredients, earth, water, etc. And at the same time, the elements are beyond the body. The elements were created first, and therefore they entered into the bodily construction later, but in both circumstances, they enter the cosmos and also did not enter. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his different energies, namely the internal and external, is within everything in the manifested cosmos. And at the same time, he is outside of everything, situated in the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha, Vaikuntha Loka, as described before.
Srijal Mataji.
Yeah. This is very nicely stated in the Brahma Samhita 5.37 as follows. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhava Tabhis Tabhirya Eva Nijarupatya Kalebhi Goloka Eva Nivashatye Akhilatma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the personality of Godhead Govinda, who by expansion of his internal potency of transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss enjoys in his own and expanded forms. Simultaneously, he enters into every atom of the creation.
Madhav Prabhu.
This expansion of his plenary parts is also more definitely explained in the same Brahma Samhita 535 as follows. Eko api asau rachitum jagat ananda kotim yach chaktir asti jagat anda Shaya yad anta andvantara stha parmanu kariyantara sthanam stham govindam adi purusham tamham bhajami. I worship the personality of Godhead Govinda, who by one of his plenary portions enters into the existence of every universe and every particle of the atoms, and thus ultimately manifest his infinite energy all over the material creation.
Reenaji.
The impersonalists can imagine or even perceive that the Supreme Brahman is thus all-pervading, and therefore they conclude that there is no possibility of his personal form. Herein lies the mystery of his transcendental knowledge. This mystery is transcendental love of Godhead, and one who is surcharged with such transcendental love of Godhead can without difficulty see the personality of Godhead in every atom and every movable or immovable object.
How are you doing?
Deva.
And at the same time, he can see the personality of Godhead in his own abode, Goloka, enjoying eternal pastimes with his eternal associates, who are also expansion of his transcendental existence. This vision is the real mystery of spiritual knowledge, as stated by the Lord in the beginning of Sarahasyam Tad Angam Cha. This mystery is the most confidential part of the knowledge of the Supreme, and it is impossible for the mental speculators to discover by dint of intellectual gymnastics.
Parag.
The mystery can be revealed through the process recommended by Brahmaji in his Brahma Samhita 538 as follows. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santah Sadev Hrideshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Chinte Guna Swarupa Govindam Madi Purusham Tam Maham Bhajami. I worship the original personality of Godhead Govinda, whom the pure devotees, their eyes smeared with the ointment of love of Godhead, always observe within their hearts. This Govinda, the original personality of Godhead, is Shyam Sundar with all transcendental qualities.
So let's stop there and just rewind to the beginning. And I'll ask one question. Is everybody a little confused?
Let's look at the verse itself.
Because this is a very difficult, Prabhupada's making the point here, and this is difficult to understand unless you have the key. So let's look at the verse.
O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time, I am outside of everything.
With the Beatles sang a song called "Within You, Without You," and I don't know if they really thought this, but really this is it. Krishna is within everything, and he's without everything, or outside of everything. So, and also Bhagavad Gita teaches this in many, many places, how Krishna is immanent in this world, and yet he's not in anything. He's outside of everything. So this is a principle that Prabhupada then starts to unfold in the purport. And in the very beginning of the purport, as I even mentioned, he starts talking about the material elements and how they enter into everything. And he starts with the ocean and he ends with the demigods. And so basically he's talking about how these material elements, and what are they? Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. That's the gross material elements. Everything that we see is contained in these. Everything we see is either a manifestation of earth, water, fire, air, and ether is space. It's what everything fits into. So.
And then from the least conscious
to
the most conscious.
Yeah, and starting from the inanimate objects, although sometimes it's said the mountains have consciousness, but we won't get into that. But the fact is, it works its way up to the highest. And the principle that Prabhupada says here, in the developed stage of consciousness, the human being can study both physiological and physical science. But these sciences that we study, Prabhupada goes on to say, are just studying earth, water, fire, air, and ether, material elements. We're just studying the gross elements that are the building blocks of material energy, and we're not getting any farther past that. Lifeless things. The only life is actually the soul within the dead bodies. So the body of the human being and the body of a mountain, as also the body of the demigods and Brahma, are all just made of the same stuff.
In different proportions.
In different proportions. So then Prabhupada says these elements were created first, and therefore they entered the bodily construction later. But in all circumstances, they entered the cosmos, but also they're outside the cosmos because the Lord is outside the cosmos.
So these are the building blocks, so to speak, or the elements that are there, and then they become activated by the soul when they become part of the body.
I'm going to stop there, because this gets to be very, very a cumbersome way of understanding things. It's very clunky. You have to kind of pull it apart. Very difficult. Does anybody have any thoughts so far? Because there's a mystery and a key in the second paragraph, which it opens everything up to us as devotees. So we can understand things without any difficulty. Whereas if we try to understand it this way, we're scratching our heads and just trying to grasp the concepts.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking, Prabhuji, was that, one is I exist within everything, but then at the same time, I'm outside of everything. So one analogy I was thinking about is like in the sky, if we see the stars, right? So the sky is there and the stars are dependent on the sky, but the sky is outside of the stars, right? But the stars cannot exist without the sky.
That's a good analogy. Yeah. Very good.
Like one star doesn't have the
Yeah, but everything rests within the sky. That's also as in the I forget the verse, but in the Gita, you know, everything exists within the sky. So in the same way, everything exists within Krishna. In the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, actually, he says, Mayam, Mayatatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarva bhutani. This is 4th verse. Nachaham teshva vastita. By me and my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So that's the idea, that everybody depends on Krishna, but Krishna is outside of everything. But guess what? He's also within everything as the super soul within the Paramatma. He is outside of everything, situated in the kingdom of God, as described before.
Number 5. 4 and 5.
4 and 5. You can read the next one.
And verse 9, in Bhagavad Gita 9:5 is the second part of verse number 4. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. Everything comes from him. And then the next one, the mighty wind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then the next one. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky. Gendra, this is your point. All created beings rest in me. So these concepts are difficult for anybody to understand, except the devotees. We're very fortunate as we go through this purport. We'll see how fortunate we are that Krishna gives us a beautiful way to enter into the understanding of what is actually truth.
And the understanding is not something that we fabricate in our mind or something that we can grasp with our intelligence, because these things are way beyond our capacity, intellectual capacity to understand. So they are given us realizations. We'll see how it happens.
Does anybody have any thoughts or questions so far? We're working our way towards the solution, or the key to solving the mystery. This mystery that is confounds the whole world.
See, the thing is that in these 4 verses, what is being established is that the supreme, the source of everything, is Krishna. So Prabhupada explains the verses, and the whole thing is difficult to understand. But the point being made in these 4 verses is precisely that Krishna is the absolute truth, and everybody else depends on Krishna. And Krishna, as Vishnu Tattva, is the source of all Vishnus. And every manifestation that is in the Vishnu Tattva comes from him. For example, Vishnu, or Narayan, or Ram, or all the other manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the original source. And in the Brahma Samhita, there is a verse that explains that as a candle lights up all the other candles, but there is always the one candle that is the one that is lighting up all the other candles, and that is the original one, and that is Krishna, the Supreme Personality.
Also in Bhagavad Gita, there is an analogy that he's the string where all pearls are.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
Yes, that's the 7th chapter.
The string is not seen, but the pearls are holding on that string.
Yes.
That's right.
And without that string, the pearls are all over the place.
Right.
And so we were just studying about Varaha, Dave, his appearance day on Wednesday. And in that story about Varahadev, he lifts the Earth planet up from the Garbha Ocean, which is the ocean at the bottom, the Garbha Dak Ocean at the bottom of the universe. And the idea is that because the planets, they stay in orbit due to the very, very, well, the scientists will call it gravity, but we know it's by the potency that's given to them by the Lord. And if some demon like Hiranyaksha tampers with this balance, then that planet will fall into the ocean or lose its state of weightlessness. And so the fact is that the Lord then lifts it back up by his potency as Lord Bor, as Varahadev. So these points are very important because it's by Krishna's grace that everything is held together.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at this verse, number 37 of Brahma Samhita. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Kabirya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabi Loka Eva Nija Now I'm going to actually go to Srila Prabhupada's translation, not Srila Prabhupada's translation, but the Brahma Samhita. This was done in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's time. And this is a very interesting translation. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka.
Okay, maybe Gajendra Prabhu can click on this.
Maybe Gajendra could go to 537 of...
Can you click on 537, Prabhuji?
It's not active. He can go there. Because this is a very interesting translation because it talks about who this person is. Oh, I don't know. You have Brahma Samhita there?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, right there.
We can all read it.
I'll read it.
Yeah, we can also.
Yeah. 37. Yes. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities in the company of her confidants, Sakis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. So what this says is that beyond this world, it's another translation here, Prabhupada does, that Krishna, he's enjoying separately from all of the material energy here. This is what's really happening. Sometimes people pray to God, please give me money, or please give me a nice house, or give me good health. But it's like the prisoners asking the government to give them some more food to eat in the prison house. The prisoners are separate from the king and all the free people who are associating with the king in his kingdom. So this stuff that we are concerned about isn't so important, really, in the terms of eternality. And then in the next verse, number 35, he talks about 37 talks about how Krishna is in the spiritual world enjoying like anything separate, but 35, the verse couple before, says,
let him find 35.
He's on 30.
No, let him find
35.
So that everybody can follow.
And actually, and this one talks about how he's actually he exists within all the universes he's in every particle, whereas it says here, whoops, did the wrong one there. Excuse me. 35. I got it. It says here, all the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe. So here he is in the spiritual world, enjoying like anything with Radha and the gopis and all the cowherd boys. But by his potency, he's also present in his fullness. I mean, he's not any less in every atom scattered throughout the universe. And so this is, we're getting into some concepts here. They talk about how quantum mechanics is difficult to understand. Well, this is spiritual quantum mechanics, and this is really hard to understand by our mundane, limited vision. Anybody have any comments, questions? We're getting to the answer here coming up. So here's what's happening here is that people get so frustrated, they become impersonalists. The impersonalists can imagine or even perceive the Supreme Brahman is thus all pervading, and thus they conclude that there's no possibility of his personal form. So we're dealing with such incredibly complex spiritual subject matter here that a lot of people, they throw their hands up and say, you know what, it's all impersonal. You know, we know we have a form here, we know we suffer, we die, we get sick, and in the spiritual world there must be one, but it can't be like here, so it's just got to be empty, and maybe we're all God. That would be great. And there isn't even people. The people don't even really exist. Nothing exists except God, and we're just an illusion. Well, what does Prabhupada say? They're just imagining this. And then he comes up with this incredible sentence that leads us to our key to our spiritual life. How great Prabhupada is, how merciful he is. Here's his sentence. Herein lies the mystery of his transcendental knowledge. And here it is. This mystery is transcendental love of Godhead, and one who is surcharged with such transcendental love of Godhead can without difficulty see the personality of Godhead in every atom and every movable or immovable object, and at the same time he can see the personality of Godhead in his own abode, Goloka, enjoying eternal pastimes, etc. So we just had, the Brahma Samhita say he's in the spiritual world, he's in the atom.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere, but he's not here, he's there. And everybody's just scratching their head going, oh my God, how can I figure this out? Well, if we enter into the process of bhakti, that means
Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena.
That's right, Saki Priya Mataji. There it is. There's the real key that tinge our eyes with the salve of love. Then Krishna just opens our eyes and says, here it is. This is it. This is the truth.
Let's chant the verse.
Jana Churita
Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
I worship the original personality of Godhead Govinda, whom the pure devotees, their eyes smeared with the ointment of love of Godhead, always observe within their hearts. This Govinda, the original personality of Godhead, is Shama Sundar with all transcendental qualities.
And
how beautiful.
And just before this, he said, this mystery is the most confidential part of the knowledge of the Supreme, and it is impossible for the mental speculators to discover by dint of intellectual gymnastics. The mystery can be revealed through the process. This is it. Recommended by Brahma. Brahma recommends the process. How easy is this process? That's a question. I'm not just rhetorical. How easy is this process? What can we do to make advancement in this process of uncovering our love for the Lord? Chant. In this age, that's it. Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, they burst open the storehouse of love of God by simply telling us, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And study the words of Krishna and his pure devotees, and listen to classes given by people who are very, very highly realized, who have full understanding of all these mysteries.
There's no hard and fast rules. Savita, you mentioned how Mukesh went to India to take care of his father's last rites, and these are very technical and very important. And they actually take the person to another realm, and they're part of the whole Vedic civilization. And therefore, these are eternally auspicious activities. But the chanting the holy name is so powerful that it can be taken out of the Vedic context and put into places where people have no culture, no understanding, no understanding of anything Vedic, no background, and they can hear the holy name and be liberated and get love of God, even if they're in a condition which has no prerequisite understanding. That's how powerful the Hare Krishna mantra is and the chanting. Now it's even better if you got the prerequisites, because then you can, do a lot, you can understand what's going on. But Prabhupada was talking about his mission in Africa, and how in Africa, people were very, very simple and not very, very evolved in many ways. But Prabhupada was so happy to see that they loved the chanting, they loved prasadam, they loved it associated with devotees, and it was a huge success. And Prabhupada was saying, this is the proof how Krishna consciousness it's the most fair and accessible process for self-realization anywhere.
And it brings joy to everyone, because who doesn't like to chant the holy name and dance and celebrate and have nice prasadam? This is so joyful, such a joyful process.
And soon we'll be
It
doing
is
this.
singing, dancing, and feasting.
That's right. And now zooming.
Yes.
It's a 24-hour party.
Yes.
And that's what's going on in the spiritual world, a 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365 days. In fact, every day is like, that movie Groundhog Day? Well, it's like that, but it's different because, it's unlimited.
It's unlimited bliss.
More time. Yeah.
Any other thoughts or comments, or we could read another paragraph.
We can. See if anybody wants to make a comment or say something.
Does anybody have anything, any questions?
Shivaji.
Prabhu, yes, Prabhuji, Mataji. I'm reminded of a character Barbaric during Mahabharata time. Like at the end, somebody, Pandavas asked Barbaric, what did you see in the battlefield? And he said, I saw only Krishna. Krishna, everyone is Krishna. Krishna is killing other, he is getting killed. Then, so that's, there it is a very clear indication of what is being shared here. And then, it also, sometimes I feel like, having some interest in astronomy and astrophysics, sometimes you wonder, like, where is Milky Way? And people say, yeah, look outside, there is the Milky Way. But then you are part of the Milky Way.
Nowadays, no one even sees it because there's too much light pollution. But
yeah. So,
well, we know we've been told that the Milky Way actually is the celestial Ganges flowing down from the toe hole of Vaman. But I think it's also important to be very careful when we say everybody's Krishna, or he sees nobody but Krishna, because we aren't Krishna. We're eternal individuals. We are separate from Krishna. We can be, there is oneness with Krishna in devotional service because we become one in a loving relationship. So that, when we have a loving relationship with another person, in one way we say that my wife, she completes me. My daughter, she completes me. My son, he is my second half. He's, sometimes we even refer to our spouse as my better half.
In Spanish, we say my half, an orange is divided in two halves. So my other part of the orange.
But we're not the same as the other half in this case. We're the same, and we have a mutual loving relationship.
Eternal individuals.
And actually, Lord Chaitanya, he came in order to actually relish Radha's ecstatic mood, because as Krishna, he couldn't even understand how much Radha loved him. So the point being is that this is an exchange of love that makes us one with Krishna, but not that we are, the Mayavadis would say, well, Krishna, he's God, and you're also God too. Well, sorry, that's not our philosophy.
That's not it.
And that philosophy is dangerous for us.
Well, it doesn't also depend upon the observer's state of mind and his level of
illusion.
Not only illusion, because Barbaric was not an illusionary guy. He was a very high devotee of Krishna. So, like, I have had some realization myself, and I have seen many people, they get in a mode in a certain time and situation where, because we know that, super soul is there in everything, right?
Yes.
So a highly elevated devotee would focus on the super soul, and he would see that, oh, everything is super soul,
But
so,
I'm not super soul, because I'm separate from super soul.
Right.
I'm the observer.
One can see the super soul in everything. That doesn't
Exactly.
That's so. It's a
correct.
It's like we have the sun rays, right? That's the example which comes up again and again. That it's like you have one sun, and then you have the sun rays. So all the sun rays enter all of us, but that doesn't make us sun, right? Even though we have sun rays inside us, and everyone feels that. Yeah.
But from the perspective of the observer, this is more a comment from the perspective of an observer, right? Now,
Let's not get into a Heisenberg principle here that the observer changes it. We'll stay away from from quantum mechanics. That's all about observers too. But the fact is, the observer has an understanding of from a certain level. So if one is on a certain level and one has not developed to a highly evolved level, then one might be in meditation, see the super soul and think that he is or she is the super soul, but that is an incorrect perception. Then therefore we have to take our understanding from our acharyas who have taught us that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, that Krishna is the original personality. What is it? Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. None of us can check off any of those things. Ishvara Parama Krishna, he can check it off, but you can't say, I can't say Drishta Ishvara Parama. Sorry, I don't get that one. Satchidananda Vigraha, I can't check that one off either. And Anadi Govinda, well, sorry, I have an Adir. And Sarva Karna Karnam, I'm not causing much. So, maybe causing trouble. But the fact is that Krishna can tick off all four of those, but we can't. So it's important. I mean, these are very good points you're making, Shiva, because these are the stumbling blocks that people come upon as they try to make advancement beyond the rudimentary stage of spiritual life, which is religious life first, and then early stages of transcendence, and then finally advanced stages of transcendence. Now, speaking for myself, I'm not in an advanced stage of transcendence, but my guru Prabhupada is. So by holding on firmly to his lotus feet, I somehow or other can catch some of the current coming from him. So that's what we need to do, is hang on to our guru's lotus feet.
So what would you consider Barbaric's observation?
That means that he could see Krishna's action and everything orchestrated by Krishna, and everybody being a part of the Supreme Lord, and all the developments on the battlefield, something that Krishna had already preordained, that we're manifesting. So he is the cause of all causes. And he could recognize Krishna being the cause of everything that was happening there.
Yeah.
So he had this vision of love in his eyes, that he could see how Krishna was acting and how everything was ordained by Krishna, how everybody was dependent upon Krishna, how the outcome was already something that was designed by Krishna to happen in that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Krishna had entered everything in that. It had entered into the whole. Everything was being orchestrated by Krishna.
So he saw the cause of everything, the source of everything in operation, actually in action.
Mhm.
And actually, Arjuna saw it already in the Virat Roop of Lord Krishna.
Yes.
Arjuna what?
Arjuna saw everything in the Virat Roop. Yes.
Yeah. But what happens with Arjuna when he saw the Virat Rupa, he was so
Bewildered.
disturbed. He was so disturbed. He wanted to see the human-like form of Krishna, which was way, way superior to all this extreme opulence that Krishna was manifesting in his Virat Rupa.
You'd rather have fun with
He
Krishna.
wanted to have his friend back. He didn't want to have this vision of extraordinary power. He just wanted his good, dear old friend back, to somebody whom he could love.
Just like a little boy who has a nice father, and he plays with his father. And then, but his father's also a military, commander. And so one day his father comes in and he's all decked out with a helmet and a flak jacket and everything like this, and he's got a gun. And the son, little boy, goes, "Who are you?" And he doesn't really like that. He wants to have daddy. I guess it's time for our kirtan.
Oh, yes, already.
We kind of got carried away there.
Oh.
So, yeah, so it was Lord Nityanand's Jayanti yesterday, right?
Yeah.
We'll just hear some kirtan from Mayapur temple
Oh, yeah.
from
Very well.
yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, I will hear it for 10 minutes. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Gajendra, for
Thank you.
always keeping us connected here.
No, it's not only Hare Krishna. It's like
Hare
soul is everywhere. No, it's like
This one?
বলে মরণে তাই যে বানায় লোচন বলে মরণে তাই যে বানা ভজিল লোচন বলে মরণে তাই যে বানা ভজিল জানি আসনি আসে আত্মঘাতী হই জানিয়া শুনিয়া সে আত্মঘাতী হই আত্মঘাতী হইল আত্মঘাতী হইল জানিয়া শুনিয়া সে আত্মঘাতী হইল আত্মঘাতী হইল বলে আত্মঘাতী আত্মঘাতী হইল বলে জানিয়া শুনিয়া সে আত্মঘাতী হইল হায় আত্মঘাতী হইল বলে আত্মঘাতী হইল বলে জানিয়া শুনিয়া সে আত্মঘাতী হইল বলে জানিয়া শুনিয়া সে আত্মঘাতী হইল জানিয়া শুনিয়া সে আত্মঘাতী হইল জয় নিতাই 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 নিতাই গৌর হরি বল 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 শ্রী শ্রী নিত্যানন্দ প্রভু কি নিতাই গৌর সুন্দর কি पंचतत्व की हरि नाम संकीर्तन की श्री प्रभुपाद की गौर ब्रह्मानंदे Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Nacho 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 Ka Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Haribo.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
So good to see everybody, and and to have your association, and we look forward to seeing you soon in person. Keep praying for that day.
In the park.
A nice warm day in the park, maybe only a month or so away.
Yes.
And anyway, have a good weekend.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Yendra. Say hello to Mukesh for us when he gets home.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.